Calgary's real estate market has officially been labeled balanced. But that's actually misleading. And if you're buying or selling right now, it could cost you if you don't understand why. Because what's really happening is we've split into two completely different markets. So in this video, I'm going to break down what's actually happening and what it means for your next move. I'm Kristen, and I specialize in acreage and residential real estate here in Calgary and the surrounding rural areas, whether you're relocating here or just making a move within the city. Every day, I'm working with buyers and sellers who are trying to understand what's actually happening in the market and how to make the right decisions within it. And that's exactly what I'm going to walk you through today. If you're considering a move and want to talk through your specific situation, I've included a link below where you can book a call. I'm always happy to help. I wanted to put together an April 2026 Calgary market update, but more importantly, help you understand what's really happening in the market right now, beyond just the headlines. So yes, technically, Calgary is in a balanced market. But what buyers, sellers, and even investors are experiencing right now doesn't feel balanced at all. And that gap between the data and reality is the most important thing to understand. If you just look at the numbers, everything actually looks pretty normal. We're seeing a balanced sales to new listing ratio, inventory is increasing slightly, and prices have softened just a bit year over year. But this is where most people stop. And that's exactly where people start making the wrong decisions. This is the most important takeaway from this entire update. Calgary is not one market right now. It's two completely different markets happening at the same time. And your experience depends entirely on which one you're in. If you're looking at detached homes, especially move-up homes, inner city properties, or acreages, this segment still feels tight. Inventory is low, demand is strong, and well-priced homes are still moving quickly, sometimes with multiple offers. So, from a seller's perspective, this segment is still relatively strong. But condos and apartments are telling a completely different story. There's more supply, prices have come down compared to last year, and buyers have significantly more leverage. They can negotiate more, they can take their time, and they have options. And this is really where we're seeing the market cooling the most. So naturally, the question becomes, why is this happening? And there are really three key drivers behind this shift: inventory imbalance, higher interest rates, and a major shift in the rental market. We're in what's being called a higher for longer rate environment. So while rates have stabilized, they're still high enough to impact affordability. And what that's doing is making buyers more cautious, more selective, and much more price sensitive. This next piece is really important, and not a lot of people are talking about it. We've had a huge increase in purpose-built rental units coming onto the market. So renters now have more options, which means fewer people feel pressure to buy condos. Instead of buying, many are choosing to rent, and that's softening demand on the condo side. Today's buyer is very different than even a year or two ago. They're more analytical, more patient, and they're not afraid to walk away from a property that doesn't make sense. And especially in segments where there's more supply, they know they have options. And this is where a lot of sellers are getting caught off guard. Not all sellers are experiencing the same market right now. What your neighbor experienced a few months ago may have no relevance to your situation, especially if you're in a different property type. And this isn't just happening in Calgary. We're seeing similar trends across Alberta. Sales are down compared to last year, inventory is rising, and homes are taking longer to sell. And nationally, the market is starting to stabilize, but Calgary is cooling a little faster, and that actually makes sense because we had such a strong run over the last few years. This is more of a normalization than anything else. Population growth is still happening, which is a big support for our market. People are still moving to Alberta, but the pace has slowed. So demand is still there, it's just not as urgent or aggressive as it was before. And then we have local factors shaping the market as well. Things like rezoning, property taxes, and changes in the construction pipeline. These don't always show up immediately in the data, but they absolutely influence long term value and market direction. So, what does this mean if you're a buyer? This is actually a really good market if you understand where to play. There are more options in certain segments, less competition in some areas, and more opportunity to negotiate. But strategy is everything. For sellers, this is where the shift is really happening. It's no longer about timing the market, it's about strategy. Pricing matters more, presentation matters more, and positioning is critical. That's what determines your outcome in today's market. And for investors, the landscape is changing, not disappearing. Condos are facing more pressure in the short term, but long term opportunities, especially in land, acreages, and growth areas, are still very strong. It just requires a different approach than it did a couple years ago. So, if you take one thing away from this is not a guesswork market, it's a strategy market. There are two different markets happening at once, and your success depends on understanding which one you're in and making decisions accordingly. So, if you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing, and you want to understand what this market specifically means for you, I'm always happy to walk you through it. You can reach out directly, or I'll put a link below where you can book a call, or even just send me a message with your situation and I'll point you in the right direction.